Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Today, I want to talk about the importance of self-respect and how it shapes not only the way we live our lives, but also the way others treat us. We often hear that respect is something we must earn from others. But I urge you to consider this true. Respect begins with you. It is the foundation upon which all other forms of respect are built. Self-respect is the cornerstone of a fulfilling and meaningful life. It is the internal compass that guides our decisions, shapes our actions, and influences the way we engage with the world around us. In a society where external validation often takes precedence, the idea of self-respect being the foundation of all other forms of respect is both revolutionary and necessary. Respect for others is often seen as a reciprocal exchange, where we treat others well and expect to be treated with the same courtesy. However, the truth is that this cycle begins within ourselves. If we do not respect ourselves, how can we expect others to see our worth or treat us with the respect we deserve? Self-respect goes beyond the superficial gestures of politeness or kindness. It is about understanding and valuing our own worth regardless of external circumstances or opinions. It is about recognizing that we are inherently valuable, independent of the approval or judgment of others. When we fail to respect ourselves, we set the stage for unhealthy relationships, low self-esteem, and a cycle of self-doubt that can be difficult to escape. Without a solid foundation of self-respect, we are more likely to tolerate mistreatment, compromise our values, and allow others to dictate our worth. At its core, self-respect is about honoring who we are, both the strengths and the imperfections that make us human. It means setting boundaries and not allowing others to cross them, simply because we fear their disapproval. It means acknowledging our flaws, but not letting them define us or diminish our worth. Self-respect involves being honest with ourselves, even when the truth is uncomfortable. It means taking responsibility for our actions, learning from our mistakes, and continuously striving to grow and improve, without being overly harsh on ourselves. Respect begins within, because it shapes our perceptions of what is acceptable and what is not. When we respect ourselves, we naturally seek out environments and relationships that nurture this respect. We are less likely to tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or abuse because we understand that we deserve better. This internal standard of respect radiates outward and sets the tone for how others interact with us. People sense when someone has a deep sense of self-worth, and they are less likely to treat that person poorly. The journey towards self-respect is often a difficult one. It requires introspection, self-compassion, and the courage to face uncomfortable truths about ourselves. It means learning to silence the critical voices in our heads that tell us we are not good enough, or that we need to seek validation from others. Instead of looking outward for approval, we must turn inward and recognize our own intrinsic value. This process takes time, and it may require unlearning old patterns of self-neglect or self-criticism. However, the more we practice self-respect, the stronger the foundation becomes, and the easier it is to live authentically and with integrity. Self-respect also involves recognizing the power of our choices. The decisions we make reflect how much we value ourselves. Choosing to engage in activities, relationships, and environments that align with our values is an act of self-respect. When we make choices that honor our well-being, we send a message to ourselves and to the world that we are worthy of respect and care. This is not about perfection. It's about doing what is best for ourselves, even when it requires difficult decisions or stepping outside of our comfort zones. In essence, self-respect is the lens through which we view the world, and the foundation upon which all our interactions are built. When we respect ourselves, we are not only better equipped to navigate the challenges of life, but we also set a standard for how others should treat us. It is the bedrock upon which every other form of respect is built, and it is the key to living a life of purpose, dignity, and authenticity. External validation is something many of us seek, whether through praise, acknowledgement, or approval from others. It's a natural human desire to want to be seen, heard, and appreciated for who we are and what we do. However, relying on external validation as a primary source of self-worth can be both unreliable and ultimately disempowering. While validation from others may feel good in the moment, it is fleeting and often comes with conditions. It is subject to the opinions, moods, and biases of those around us, making it inconsistent and unstable. Because external validation depends on external factors, it can never provide the solid foundation for self-worth that we truly need. When we depend on others for approval, we risk tying our value to their perceptions. Their approval can become a moving target, fluctuating based on their moods, personal opinions, or even misunderstandings of our actions or intentions. One moment, we may feel validated, basking in the praise of others, and the next, we might be left feeling inadequate when that validation disappears or shifts. The reality is that people are not static. They are influenced by their own experiences, emotions, and personal biases. Their perception of us can change without warning, leaving us in a state of emotional volatility. Furthermore, the desire for external validation often leads to the erosion of authenticity. When we are constantly seeking approval from others, we begin to mold ourselves into what we think others expect or desire. We may suppress our true feelings, opinions, or desires in favor of conforming to the expectations of those around us. This behavior not only distances us from our true selves, but also leaves us vulnerable to disappointment. When the approval we seek is not granted, over time, we may lose sight of who we really are, becoming so absorbed in the need for validation that we sacrifice our integrity and values in the process. External validation is also inherently conditional. The approval we seek is often based on our actions, achievements, or appearance. It is not a reflection of our inherent worth as individuals. People may praise us for our accomplishments or compliment us on our looks, but these affirmations are not a reflection of our character or true value. The praise we receive is often based on what others perceive as worthy of approval at that moment, which may have little to do with our actual worth as human beings. As a result, we may find ourselves constantly striving to meet the ever-changing standards of others, chasing an elusive sense of value that is never truly ours to claim. Moreover, relying on external validation creates a dangerous cycle of dependence. When we seek validation from others, we place our emotional well-being in their hands. This makes us vulnerable to the whims of others and limits our ability to trust ourselves. We may begin to question our own judgment, abilities, and decisions, relying instead on the feedback of others to guide our choices. This constant need for approval can erode our confidence and hinder our growth, as we become more concerned with pleasing others than with pursuing our own path. Ultimately, while external validation can provide temporary boosts of self-esteem, it is not a sustainable or reliable source of fulfillment. It is important to recognize that true self-worth must come from within, independent of others' opinions. By learning to value ourselves for who we truly are, not based on the fleeting approval of others, we can build a more stable sense of self and live authentically, free from the need to seek validation from those around us. It is only when we stop relying on others for our worth that we can begin to live fully and embrace the freedom that comes with self-acceptance. Self-awareness is the key to personal growth and the ability to lead a fulfilling life. It is the ability to reflect on oneself honestly, to acknowledge both our strengths and weaknesses, and to use this knowledge as a guide to improve. Recognizing our strengths allows us to tap into the areas where we naturally excel, while acknowledging our weaknesses offers us the opportunity to grow, learn, and become better versions of ourselves. True self-awareness is not just about identifying these qualities, but also about accepting them without judgment and using them as tools for development. When we become aware of our strengths, we can use them to our advantage in various aspects of life. Recognizing where we shine allows us to make decisions based on our natural abilities, which can lead to greater success, satisfaction, and fulfillment. It can help us choose career paths that align with our talents, engage in activities that energize us, and form relationships that complement our strengths. Acknowledging our talents doesn't mean becoming arrogant or overconfident. Rather, it means understanding where we are capable and finding ways to nurture those abilities. This awareness enables us to make the most of our potential and to contribute meaningfully to the world around us. On the other hand, recognizing our weaknesses is just as important, though often more challenging. Many people resist acknowledging their flaws because it can feel uncomfortable or humbling. However, it is only through honest self-reflection that we can identify the areas in which we need to improve. Weaknesses are not something to be ashamed of. They are simply opportunities for growth. Whether it's a tendency to procrastinate, difficulty with communication, or a lack of confidence in certain situations, recognizing these areas gives us the power to change. Acknowledging our weaknesses is the first step toward addressing them. Whether that means seeking help, developing new skills, or changing certain behaviors. Self-awareness is also about understanding how our strengths and weaknesses affect the people around us. When we recognize the positive impact of our strengths, we can use them to contribute to the well-being of others. For example, if we are particularly empathetic, we can offer support to those who need it, helping to build stronger relationships. On the flip side, recognizing how our weaknesses might affect others allows us to be more considerate and proactive in addressing potential conflicts or misunderstandings. For instance, if we know that we struggle with patience, we might take extra care in situations where others need more time or attention. Growth stems from an honest assessment of where we currently stand. Without self-awareness, we may continue to repeat the same mistakes, remain stuck in unproductive patterns, or fail to take advantage of opportunities for self-improvement. When we are aware of our tendencies, behaviors, and thought processes, we gain control over them. Self-awareness allows us to question our actions and decisions, to understand the why behind our behaviors, and to make conscious choices that align with our true goals. This process of introspection and reflection fosters continuous growth as we learn from both our successes and our failures. Moreover, self-awareness leads to emotional intelligence, the ability to understand and manage our emotions, as well as to empathize with others. Recognizing our own emotional responses and triggers helps us navigate challenging situations with more grace and clarity. It allows us to act thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, enhancing our ability to communicate effectively, resolve conflicts, and maintain healthy relationships. In embracing self-awareness, we also embrace the journey of growth. Growth is not about being perfect or eliminating all our weaknesses, but rather about continuously evolving, learning, and becoming more attuned to who we truly are. When we take the time to recognize both our strengths and weaknesses, we create a foundation for growth that is grounded in honesty, self-compassion, and the desire to become the best version of ourselves. This ongoing process of self-reflection empowers us to lead lives of purpose, authenticity, and resilience. Respect is often viewed as something we expect or demand from others, especially when we feel we have earned it or when we believe we deserve it. However, true respect cannot be commanded or forced. It must be earned through actions, consistency, and the way we conduct ourselves in the world. When we try to demand respect, we put ourselves in a position of weakness. We rely on the validation of others to feel valued, which is an inherently unstable and unreliable way to build self-worth. True respect arises naturally when we demonstrate integrity, honor our values, and live authentically, without needing to rely on external validation to feel worthy. Attempting to demand respect often stems from a place of insecurity or desperation. When we focus too heavily on trying to make others respect us, we divert our energy from cultivating inner strength and character. Instead of demonstrating respect through our actions, we resort to manipulation, force, or even threats, hoping that these tactics will compel others to recognize our worth. However, this approach often backfires. People can sense when respect is being demanded rather than earned, and they are unlikely to respond positively to forceful behavior. Genuine respect is a reflection of mutual understanding and admiration, not something that can be coerced or manipulated. Respect is something that begins with self-respect. If we do not respect ourselves, we are unlikely to earn the respect of others. People are often drawn to those who exhibit self-confidence, humility, and a strong sense of purpose. These qualities inspire admiration naturally, without the need for forceful requests for recognition. When we carry ourselves with dignity and self-respect, we set the standard for how others should treat us. This respect isn't a transactional exchange. It's a natural result of how we choose to live and engage with the world around us. Rather than demanding respect, we should focus on modeling the behavior we wish to receive. We earn respect through our actions, decisions, and interactions with others. This means being honest, keeping promises, being consistent in our behavior, and treating others with kindness and fairness. When we consistently demonstrate these qualities, we begin to earn the respect of those around us, not because we have asked for it, but because our actions speak louder than words. Over time, the respect we have cultivated through our behavior will grow stronger, and others will come to recognize our worth without the need for demands. Furthermore, when we respect others, we create an environment in which respect is naturally reciprocal. Respect is not a one-way street. It is an exchange that requires both parties to contribute. When we treat others with dignity and fairness, we invite them to do the same. It's through this mutual exchange that genuine respect is fostered. If we demand respect from others without offering it in return, we are setting ourselves up for disappointment and frustration. True respect is rooted in mutual recognition of each other's value, not in one-sided expectations. In addition, respect cannot be bought or imposed by status, position, or power. While some may offer outward signs of deference or obedience due to fear of consequence or a desire for favor, this is not true respect. It is merely compliance. True respect is based on admiration for character, integrity, and the way one treats others, not on superficial factors such as title, wealth, or influence. When respect is genuinely earned, it transcends external circumstances and is rooted in the core values of a person's character. In the end, true respect cannot be demanded or forced. It is earned by consistently demonstrating integrity, kindness, and authenticity. When we cultivate self-respect and model the behavior we wish to receive from others, respect will naturally follow. Rather than seeking to control how others perceive us, we should focus on becoming the kind of person who naturally commands respect through our actions, character, and treatment of others. Only then will we experience the true, lasting respect that comes from within, not from the external demands we place on others. Internal reflection is a powerful tool for personal growth and self-improvement. It involves looking inward to assess whether the life we are living aligns with the values we hold dear, and whether we are treating ourselves with the same respect and dignity we expect from others. Often, we focus on the external world, on the way others treat us, on achieving success, or on meeting societal expectations, while neglecting the internal work that is required for true fulfillment. Examining whether we live by our values and honor ourselves in the same way we hope others will is essential for building a strong foundation of self-respect and living a life of purpose and authenticity. When we take time to reflect on our values, we must first identify what truly matters to us. Values are not just abstract concepts. They are the guiding principles that influence our decisions, our relationships, and the way we navigate the world. They are shaped by our beliefs, experiences, and the lessons we've learned along the way. However, it's not enough to simply know what our values are. We must examine how closely our daily actions and choices align with those values. For example, if one of our core values is honesty, are we consistently being truthful in our words and actions? If we value kindness, are we extending compassion to ourselves and others? Even when it's difficult, internal reflection invites us to ask ourselves tough questions about our behaviors and whether they truly reflect what we claim to believe. Treating ourselves with dignity is an essential part of this process. Too often, we place the expectations of others above our own, allowing external voices to dictate how we feel about ourselves. This can lead to neglecting our own needs, desires, and boundaries. When we reflect on whether we treat ourselves with the dignity we expect from others, we are prompted to evaluate how we honor our own well-being. Do we listen to our bodies when they signal that we need rest? Or do we push through exhaustion in the name of productivity? Do we allow ourselves to make mistakes and learn from them? Or do we berate ourselves for every perceived failure? Treating ourselves with dignity means showing ourselves the same care, patience, and understanding that we would extend to someone we love and respect. Moreover, internal reflection helps us to identify areas where we may be falling short. We might realize that we are not living in accordance with our values, whether that's because we are too focused on pleasing others or because we have allowed fear or self-doubt to take over. This recognition is not meant to be a source of shame, but rather an opportunity to course correct. When we are honest with ourselves about where we are not living authentically, we can take actionable steps to change. For instance, if we find that we are prioritizing others' opinions over our own well-being, we might need to set clearer boundaries or learn to say no when necessary. If we realize that we are not treating ourselves with the respect we deserve, we might need to practice more self-compassion and work on nurturing a healthier relationship with ourselves. Living in alignment with our values and treating ourselves with dignity requires ongoing self-awareness. It is a continuous practice, not a one-time task. As we grow and evolve, our values may shift, and our understanding of how to live in accordance with them may change. Through regular internal reflection, we can stay in tune with these changes and make adjustments where necessary. This process helps us to avoid living on autopilot, responding to life reactively rather than intentionally. It reminds us that we are the architects of our own lives, and that the choices we make reflect our inner world. Ultimately, internal reflection is about being true to ourselves. It's about being willing to ask difficult questions, confront uncomfortable truths, and make decisions that align with who we truly are and what we truly value. By reflecting on how we live our lives and whether we are treating ourselves with the respect and dignity we expect from others, we can cultivate a deeper sense of self-awareness, self-respect, and personal fulfillment. This practice empowers us to live authentically, honor our values, and become the best versions of ourselves. Respect begets respect is a principle that speaks to the profound impact our self-respect has on the way others treat us and the quality of our relationships. The way we view and treat ourselves creates an energetic resonance that influences how we are perceived by the world. When we respect ourselves, we are not only setting boundaries and nurturing our own well-being, but we are also signaling to others how they should treat us. This internal reflection of respect reverberates outward, leading to healthier relationships and ultimately a more fulfilling life. When we respect ourselves, we act as our own advocates, prioritizing our values, needs, and boundaries. This self-respect manifests in the way we interact with others, whether in how we communicate, how we allow others to treat us, or how we stand firm in the face of challenges. It is through our actions and decisions that we demonstrate to others that we value ourselves. For example, when we respect our time, we do not allow others to impose on it without consideration. When we respect our emotions, we don't tolerate relationships that undermine or invalidate our feelings. When we honor our boundaries, we let others know what is acceptable and what is not. In doing so, we establish a clear framework for how we expect to be treated, and those who truly value us will naturally respond with similar respect. Moreover, self-respect creates a sense of inner confidence that others are naturally drawn to. People tend to respect those who are comfortable in their own skin, who carry themselves with dignity, and who know their worth. This respect is not rooted in arrogance or superiority, but rather in a quiet, steadfast understanding of one's value. When we exude self-respect, it invites others to approach us with the same respect, because people instinctively recognize when someone is at peace with themselves and their place in the world. This leads to more genuine interactions and deeper, more authentic connections with others. Respect is a reciprocal energy. When we give ourselves the respect we deserve, it naturally encourages others to treat us similarly. For example, when we treat ourselves with kindness and compassion, we foster an environment where kindness and compassion are likely to be returned. This can lead to stronger friendships, healthier romantic relationships, and more fulfilling professional connections. On the other hand, when we fail to respect ourselves, we might inadvertently invite disrespect, either because we allow others to overstep boundaries, or because we give off signals that suggest we are not worthy of better treatment. This creates a cycle where we continuously seek validation from others, yet struggle to maintain healthy boundaries or meaningful connections. Furthermore, self-respect lays the groundwork for emotional resilience. When we respect ourselves, we become less susceptible to the opinions of others. Instead of being tossed around by external judgments, we build an internal foundation of self-worth that cannot easily be shaken. This sense of inner stability empowers us to engage with others from a place of strength, as we no longer rely on their approval to feel validated. We are more likely to stand up for ourselves, express our true feelings, and engage in relationships that nourish us rather than deplete us. This ability to create and maintain healthy relationships, where respect is mutual and boundaries are respected, leads to a more fulfilling life, one that is rich in connection, understanding, and authenticity. Moreover, when we respect ourselves, we also model respect for others. By treating ourselves with the dignity and care we expect from others, we set an example for those around us. This creates a ripple effect that can influence our relationships and communities in profound ways. When we respect ourselves, we encourage others to do the same, fostering environments where mutual respect thrives. In turn, this creates a cycle of positive reinforcement, where respect continues to be exchanged, creating healthier, more harmonious relationships. Ultimately, when we respect ourselves, the world reflects that energy back to us. This not only results in more positive and supportive relationships, but also leads to a greater sense of self-fulfillment. By nurturing our own self-respect and holding ourselves in high regard, we establish a life that aligns with our true values and desires, filled with meaningful connections and deep mutual respect. Respect, after all, is not a one-way street. It begins with us and flows outward, creating a life that is rich in authenticity, harmony, and fulfillment. In closing, it is important to remember that respect is not something we can demand or expect from others without first cultivating it within ourselves. The energy we put out into the world, whether through our actions, our words, or the way we carry ourselves, sets the tone for how others will treat us. By respecting ourselves, we create an environment where mutual respect can flourish, leading to healthier relationships, stronger connections, and a life that is more fulfilling. So, let us honor ourselves, hold ourselves to the highest standards of integrity, and remember that true respect begins from within. When we live in alignment with our values, treat ourselves with dignity, and stand firm in our self-worth, we invite the world to do the same. Respect begets respect, and it all starts with us.